I want to pay honor and tribute to Corps Sergeant Major Pico, as we called him, from the Port-au-Prince Central Corps. Pico was a godly man. He grew up as a young man in the Salvation Army and has been in leadership at the Corps level all of his adult life. He was a banker by trade, his profession, honored and respected by his peers, and honored and respected in the Salvation Army in Port-au-Prince and in all of Haiti. Pico was the friend of everybody who knew him, and he was the Sergeant Major of this large Salvation Army Corps, over 1,000 members, soldiers in the Corps. Not uncommon, not so long ago, to have 2,000 and 3,000 on a Sunday morning for worship. And Pico was just the kind of man who was very sort of quiet by nature and not overbearing or intimidating, but he loved the people and they loved him. And it was clear, you could see it as they communicated and related. We're talking about a corps where you've got a 25-piece band, where you've got multiple choirs, songster brigades and choirs and a praise band and children's choirs, and I mean everything you can imagine, the home league, all the accoutrements of a corps. And what was at one time, and maybe he still is, the largest corps, Salvation Army Corps in the Western Hemisphere. Some very, very significant things have happened in Port-au-Prince, and this guy is the local officer, spiritual giant of that corps. And just recently in November of 2009, the general came for a Congress here, and one of the highlights of that Congress was during that time he presented a certificate of acknowledgement and recognition to Sergeant Major Pico for his years of service. Among those years of service was over 1 year he served as the interim Corps officer, preaching every Sunday and leading the congregation when the Corps was without an officer. And so it was especially heart-wrenching and tragic when the early news came that he was missing and unaccounted for. And so the family and the Salvationists were very actively trying to learn news about him and his plight and where might he be. Maybe he's injured and in a hospital. We don't know. It seems that about 4:30 on the afternoon of the quake, that hit at about 4:50, that he left the office a little early, the bank, and he was walking out of the office with a coworker. They walked out together, and he said to his coworker, "I'm in a hurry this evening because I've got to get to the church. I've got a meeting at the church tonight." And so he was anxious to leave and probably to drive home and pick up his bride and come back for the service. And from everything that we've been able to gather, they found his vehicle in the parking garage of the bank where he worked, crushed, and realized that the Sergeant Major was promoted to glory. And the sadness and the loss will be felt for a very long time in the Corps, at the bank where he worked and was such a shining witness, and in the community. Thousands of people were lost in this tragedy, and every one of them significant and sad. But for the Salvation Army and for Salvationists, this loss was significant and special because of the man he was. So we pay honor and tribute to him and to his family. We honor him by honoring you and telling you that he was loved by so many, and we're so grateful to God for giving him us for these years, and so grateful to him and to the family for his service and for the legacy of Christian service and salvationism that he leaves behind.